Welcome to No Talking During the Movies. I am your host, Stephen Austin.
I am your co-host. My name is Tank.
Tank is AMC, and I am Paramount Pictures. During COVID, we had a bit of a falling out and hated each other, but now we're back together, right,
Now we're
Tank?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It took me forever to think of that, by the way.
That's good. That's
I,
good. I
I'm,
like it.
I was proud of it. Um, Last week, we were talking a lot about DC. So I thought we could give a little bit of attention to the underdog, a film franchise you might not have been aware of. It's called the MCU.
What's that?
It's like Marvel Comics,
Is this like an indie thing that they're doing now?
maybe.
like an art house?
Well, I actually say we're talking about MCU. We're actually not, because my question today for you is, what is your favorite Marvel film that's not in the MCU?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I feel like the MCU is just the face of Marvel films in general. But I mean, we've had Fantastic Fours, we've had a bad Fantastic Four, we've had X-Men, we've had bad X-Men, we've had Spider-Man, we've had bad Spider-Man.
First of all, I feel all the Fantastic Fours were bad. Um,
Well, okay. I
all
look
all three I would put in bad.
I look at the first two as 2000 nostalgia. That's how I put it.
Okay.
Because when you
Well,
watch that, you kind of think of another time.
you also do put those comic book movies, if you want to call them that, in that era, and anything really before Iron Man 1. I feel like you do kind of put those in a different category
They feel
because
cheesier.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
A
they
lot,
didn't take themselves too seriously.
but that makes me think that of my I really did like The Punisher with Thomas Jane,
Oh my god, I love that movie.
because I am into schlock. I do like the cheesy comic book movies, but my outside of the MCU, hands down, no question, Blade, the first Blade,
Oh, okay.
first Blade, without question, because when he, first of all, that sets up, that is like the foundation of what we have today of the
I
MCU.
I think it was even Kevin Feige said without Blade there would be no Iron Man, so there would be no
Absolutely,
MCU.
absolutely, and frankly, two was pretty good. Three
Mhm.
wasn't as, even though it had Ryan Reynolds, and
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but
He's a fan
um,
of that movie.
number one, dude, my absolute and my favorite scene from any comic book movie, um, ever, was when they're in the hospital and Blade's fighting vampires, and then a cop shoots him in the chest, and he's like, "Motherfucker!" and he just stops what he's
Whoa.
doing, and it's like it's the cool, and at
Yeah.
that time it ceases to be a comic book movie, and it just
Right.
becomes bigger, and I think that's why outside of MCU now, if we want to talk MCU, I would debate this amongst myself for an hour because
Mhm.
there's so many great movies within that universe. But outside of that, I think Blade is probably for me.
It's
What about?
crazy to me that that scene that you mentioned from Blade is your favorite from any comic book movie.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
I that got beat from me when Cap was facing down Thanos' army by himself.
yeah,
And
that was
then
great.
on your left, like that took the cake
Well, here's the
forever.
thing, Steve. We're different. We're different cats. You and I. I'm from a place where that is a badass scene. The dude just gets shot, and he's like, "Did you just shoot me?"
Well, yeah,
That's
good point.
what I mean. Like that's a badass scene, and to use that language in a comic book movie. I mean, I think
Sure.
so. Like Blade, and also I think Blade gets mad disrespected because nobody talks about it when like the first African American lead comic book movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It never gets any love for that for some reason.
Man,
And R-rated comic book movie, everybody's on Deadpool's nuts, but nobody wants to give
talk about
Deadpool. Oh, I forgot about Deadpool.
you just remembered Deadpool happened.
Oh man.
I
Woo.
my buddy, we actually played with him the other night. He's a big Deadpool fan, and he's a big Spider-Man fan. And I basically was like, okay, so you could only keep one. And I said, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, which he loves to death, or the Deadpool movies, and he couldn't decide. It was a hard
So
pick for him.
Sam Raimi's Tobey Maguire, right?
Yep. I know you don't. You're not a huge fan of Tobey Maguire.
I hate Tobey Maguire. and I hate Kirsten Dunst.
You, good point.
I
Did you?
loved I loved those movies. Um,
We've had this discussion. You liked Tobey Maguire in Great Gatsby, though, right? Because
I thought he was great in that, and I
I think
thought
he
he was
plays a great Nick.
a perfect Nick. I
Yeah.
mean, like there's there's been a few of those movies. Uh, some better than others. Obviously, Sam Waterston was a great Nick.
Mm.
But I thought, and I really love the way Baz Luhrmann tells a story
Oh my
with
God, yes.
with music and color and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So this Nick was, I thought, an incredible nod to that character, and kind of modernizing it without over modernizing it. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah, I think the most clever thing I remember at the time I hated it, but it was only as um it was only as I watched it more I was like, oh, I love the music in this,
Yeah, it's so good.
you know.
So
Um, but so yours is Blade, which I think is a
yeah,
very interesting
I'm
answer.
gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with that because I think such a not to, no pun intended, on the cutting edge. You know, it was so different than any other comic book ever at the time, and I feel like it really doesn't get the credit for forging the path, not just economically, which it did for Marvel
Right.
Studios, but also like just artistically, the way they were able to do that movie. I
Hmm.
feel like kind of changed the game up, and nobody ever talks about how that movie changed the game up.
It's so. How do you feel about them bringing it back into the MCU, doing
I love
another
it.
Blade?
I'm excited. I just wish. I mean, look, it's kind of one of those things where everybody has their own Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Wesley Snipes to me is Blade. You know what I
Right.
mean? Now
Totally makes
Mahershala
sense.
Ali, that's who they're bringing in
He's
as.
yeah. He's gonna kill
He's
it.
he's an incredible actor,
Yeah.
and I said this before. I said this when they cast Robert Pattinson. It doesn't matter what their previous movies were. If you get an incredible actor, it's going to make the movie great.
Hmm.
You know, so him as Blade, dude. I honestly, I hope they're able to connect it all to the MCU. I don't know how they do it at this point, but
Right.
if they do, if they don't, but I think he's going to do a great job and he's going to kill it. But like I said, Blade will always be Wesley Snipes to me. Whistler will always be Chris Christopherson. That old cantankerous kind of mentor relationship that they had. God, it was so good.
You know, people want Wesley Snipes to play that character in the next one. Kind of a passing of the torch almost.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I feel like that would be really distracting. Like
Good point. People would look at
I
that and be like, "But I thought he was Blade."
right, yeah, I'd be really distracted by that. And Wesley Snipes isn't really old enough. I don't think. I don't think he could.
That's a good point.
I mean,
They
he's
could
not even that old.
make up him up, but I don't know.
I mean, they keep putting Bruce Willis in Die Hards, and like he's literally gonna die from
Falling hard.
being old. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like Die Hard, natural causes. I mean, that's like the next. So I don't know why. I don't know why we can't still have Wesley Snipes as Blade, or maybe you know a situation where he should still Blade, and Mahershala Ali is the next generation of Blade kind
That'd
of
be
deal.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how when they were remaking The Lion King and they're like, we're doing a whole new cast, completely different cast, but they still cast Mufasa as the same person because nobody can stand up to James Earl Jones.
Right, absolutely. Why would you try?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, well, I guess you know what? Morgan Freeman. You could probably put Morgan Freeman in there.
That is a good point.
But again, like
I feel like
and
that would have been distracting.
that could
Morgan
have been
Freeman's
distracted.
voice?
And it's so hard when you're talking about something because that's your childhood,
Oh,
like
yeah.
just completely embedded into the gray matter of your brain.
Right.
And you hear that voice. That voice is Mufasa. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? That is, that's the guy. And it would be. You're right. It would be pretty damn hard to replace that.
To change that. My answer for the question I thought of a lot, and I was like, I'm probably gonna go like one of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man because I really like Spider-Man 2. And then I went, wait a minute, Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
It's not in
that's a
Marvel.
good pick.
It's not
That's
in
a
the
good pick.
MCU. So like it just hit me there, and I was just like, oh, that's it. That's got to be the one. And then I thought about it more, and it's probably between that or Logan,
Oh, Logan was great.
because Logan was also just like that was a superhero art film, man.
It really was. And talk about taking the turds that the other movies were
Oh yeah, and
and
just running with it.
sculpting them into, the statue of David.
So
I mean,
good.
that's exactly what they did. And um I'm gonna throw a flag on the play on the Spider-Verse
Okay.
because it's animated. First of all, I'm gonna throw a flag on that play. Second of all, even though it's not technically in the MCU,
They
it's
wanted
MC,
to be
it,
involved in the MCU.
it's MCU era, so I'm gonna throw a flag on
Okay.
that.
Okay. Well,
But
technically, so is Logan, but
I'll give you Logan because that's a different universe. Like that's
completely, yeah.
like
So is
totally different
so is
universe.
Spider Verse, but they wanted to be involved with the MCU
Right.
in fun ways. But,
Um,
yeah, if I had, God, I the scene where Wolverine like takes those like I don't. They're not like adrenaline shots, but there's something that just boosts his like rage factor.
It's that
Yeah,
X factor. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he just goes nuts in the forest. I'm like, this is what I go to the movies for. This is crazy.
Absolutely. And the to see, first of all, like one of the things and X-Men, another movie that kind of redefined the genre
Oh yeah, sure.
by giving the characters so much depth. And specifically uh Wolverine, who is probably top 3 superhero casting of all time with Hugh
Oh
Jackman.
right, 100%.
Um and the fact that he's so complicated and things like that, and to see him, who we know as just so strong and
Hmm.
so, and Wolverine, it's always weird because even in the cartoon, even in the animated series,
Hmm.
Wolverine was always getting his ass kicked, but he never stops. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's
which
his
is why he's a
right.
Wolverine. You know, but to see him be at the end and that he can't quite do what he used to do. I mean, it's just, dude, there's just something so. It's like my childhood died in that movie.
Him like pulling out the claw, like because it
Mhm.
can't come out all the way. I was
Yeah,
like, this hurts.
and
I'm like
when you
hurting
get
with him.
older, that is definitely a problem.
All right. That was definitely in the writers' room too. They were like, you know what people are gonna think when they see this
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
Age got to him.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like when he found something worth fighting for and he knew it. And even as terrible as the one where he fought the Shredder, whatever that hell that was.
Are you talking? Oh, the Wolverine.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I hold that movie higher than like Origins, X-Men
Oh
Origins
yeah, yeah,
Wolverine.
for sure.
That movie, I think the Wolverine is a really good movie up until the Shredder comes out, Silver Samurai.
See, but that ruined it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like even up until that movie, it's a good movie, and like you take something that silly,
yeah.
you know what I mean, and it
Because it
starts
just
to.
looked ridiculous.
It did, it absolutely did, and um, the way they tied it in to that movie with
Hmm.
"You'll Die," covered in blood, holding your heart
Oh,
in your
Heart in
hand.
Your Hands, yeah.
I mean, that's like a beautiful thing, and like the way, I don't know, man. I was so moved by that movie all around.
Yeah. Did you like Days of Future Past?
Oh,
Okay, good. I
uh,
remember when that movie came out, and I had multiple people tell me it's great. They finally fixed X-Men. It's back to the way it was. Like it's back to like X1, X2 generation. It's fantastic. I said, okay. And me and my friend watched it, and we were laughing through the whole movie.
yeah,
Like
no,
there was so much in it that we just couldn't get with.
X1 was great.
Oh yeah.
X2 was okay. You know what X1 and
People
X2
hold
feels like?
X2 better than X1 in a
I
lot
know,
of
absolutely
regard.
not. But I guess that's their opinion. Who am I to say what their opinion?
Absolutely not. They're wrong.
Um, but I will say this: it's like, so the X-Men franchise
Right.
is like over Hollywoodized. So it's like putting on a high school play with only the good-looking people and the jocks,
Oh,
while the really talented people are just in the audience. You know what I
right.
mean? Like everybody there's too good-looking. You didn't sans Wolverine obviously.
Hmm.
You didn't feel their layers. I will say the casting of Cyclops was good because he has a smugness and also a leadership likability trait to him.
Just to make sure, we're talking about the originals movies,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
And
that's James Marsden who's Cyclops in that one.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And even the new ones, even the latest ones, I didn't even bother with Phoenix.
No, no, neither did I.
I didn't even bother because, look, Sophie Turner was great in uh,
Game of Thrones.
Lord of the Dragons, whatever yeah, that
Game of
show,
Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
When she
She
was
was
cast as Phoenix, I was excited because I knew they were gonna do Dark Phoenix, and I was like, sweet, because I like Dark Phoenix in the X-Men comics and the lore, and I was really excited to see Phoenix actually be Phoenix and not be, what we saw in the original three movies. And nope,
yeah, yeah.
nope.
It just didn't work, man. And I was done with, you know, you knew Jennifer Lawrence switching sides so that she could get more screen time was a disgusting thing. I hated that.
And then also she complained about putting on the like blue makeup, and
Well,
she's like, nobody can sit through doing this, and I'm like, there was somebody's already been before you did it way longer than you. Like, I think they got her down to like 3 hours or something, but the girl who came before her, I forget the actress's name right now.
Rebecca Romaine Stamos.
Okay, so Rebecca Romaine Stamos, when she was Mystique, I think it took her like 9 hours to put on the
Yeah.
makeup, and I'm like, she did it.
Yeah, and I don't even mind like her as a human being. It's her character is now a good guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would
And the
completely
the whole thing,
ridiculous.
they were trying. Like I know they were going for anti-hero, but what they were really doing, no, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
kind of,
that's what they were
but
going for, but it didn't play out
but what
that
they were
way.
really doing is, hey, we got a movie star, we want her on screen as much as
Right.
possible. So I hated it, and I hated the way they did it all. Um, the first one was okay. The first reboot
First
rehash,
class.
first class, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I
that
liked
was
First Class a lot.
that was okay. And at that point, they're still good guys, and they're still everybody's still working out who they are, and
Right,
as
they're still figuring out their powers and everything.
and Magneto in Argentina killing the Nazis, that was
Yeah,
amazing. You
which
know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember the name of the actor who plays him.
Mike Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender is, in my opinion, the best part of these rebooted X-Men.
I would agree.
He's anytime that we get to see him on screen and just be like emotional, you're just like, oh wow, now I know why Magneto's such a huge jerk in the original films, because he's just gone through everything.
Yeah, right.
And Michael Fassbender does a fantastic job playing that. Man, Logan's so good. I wanted to go back to Logan because of how much I just love that movie, and I don't know. It's my pick. It's my pick because it's just
It's a good pick.
it was that or Spider-Verse, and I agree with your opinions about Spider-Verse.
Good, good.
So
That
Logan's,
by the way, though, I'm not no
You're not-
disrespect
no.
to that movie because it was phenomenal.
I think
and I
we've
waited a
talked
long
about
time to
that.
watch it
Yeah.
because I wasn't really that interested. And then, dude, I watched it. I was like, holy shit, that was great.
Literally the best Spider-Man movie, in my opinion.
Uh,
No?
I liked Homecoming a lot.
I love Homecoming too. I like Far From Home. I love the
Far From Home was
Spider.
real good.
I love the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies. Voodies.
I thought 3 was ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Well, that was.
And
I
as
think
much as
that movie just suffers from too much bad guys, but
and as much as I hate Tobey Maguire, there are some really like the scene when he stops the train in 2
so good.
and the people carry him and then they realize he's like, oh my god, he's just a kid. I mean, that's an incredibly like powerful scene.
Isn't it like a little kid on the train who's like, "We won't tell anyone," I'm like,
Right. Yes, exactly.
oh!
And then he has this Christ moment, and
Right.
he's, you know,
How many superhero movies have that, by the way?
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of the allegorical basis for
Right.
superhero movies are Jesus,
Right. Super.
Superman, for example.
I was gonna say it's happened. I think 3 or 4 times in all of Superman's movies.
Yeah, right.
Once in Man of Steel, once in Superman's Returns, once in Superman 2,
Hmm.
and maybe Superman 1. I can't remember Superman 1 right now, but they do it a lot for
Yeah.
Superman.
I mean, that's basically what the story is. You know what I mean? Like sent from
Ungodly power
right.
on human Earth. But yeah, man, I love those original Spider-Man movies, and I love Homecoming and Far From Home. But
Are you anti Amazing Spider-Man?
so I saw the first one and I enjoyed it, but my overall take back from it was like, why is Spider-Man so like, or I'm sorry, why is Peter Parker so cool? Like he's skateboarding in the hallways and he's like picking back on bullies, and I was like, you're supposed to be like the nerd, and I get
And
that
he's
you
like,
have the power now.
and he's like stupid handsome,
Oh yeah, that was the other
and he's
thing.
like, and he's 27 in high school.
I've said it, I've said it. I've said it a billion times. That it's like Tobey Maguire is Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is just the best of both. He plays the nerdy really well, and he plays Spider-Man really well. I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man. I never got around to seeing the second one because I thought Jamie Foxx looked ridiculous in it.
Don't
Yeah,
lie.
I've heard nothing but bad things about it. All I know is that like he, the Gwen Stacy scene at the end is almost like it's sad, but it's also laughable.
Yes.
I'm just like I'm not into it. I don't find myself going, I want to watch a superhero movie. Let's watch one of the ones that I've heard nothing but bad things about.
You should watch the
Blade 3.
David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury, or the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Either one of those would be a better watch than the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
But yeah, Spider-Verse I put as like on a pedestal. I think that movie just hits everything that's great about Spider-Man. And I think the message it sends is probably the best part of it, where the real message is anybody could be Spider-Man. Anybody could wear the mask. And that's what Stan Lee wanted to convey in Spider-Man in general. He said his creation of him was supposed to be that you could not see any part of him, so anybody could relate to them being the character. And then they portrayed that so well in Spider-Verse with literally multiple people playing Spider-Man, but they're all different in some way.
Do you have a favorite Spider-Man from that crew?
From that crew,
Yeah.
either Noir or
Spider-Pig?
Spider-Pig. But that's just because he's hysterical.
No, he was really funny. That's John Mulaney, right?
It's John Mulaney, yeah.
So good. Good.
I still was really upset after the casting of the Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman movie, because they gave Paul Dano Riddler, and I was like, I wanted John Mulaney to be Riddler.
That would have been a good pick.
I think he would have done a really good job. He already looks like a Riddler.
This is my question.
Do you have a favorite from that crew?
Spider-Man Noir, probably my favorite. Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is so funny in that.
It's really good, and Miles Morales, obviously. Like, I think that's an exciting direction that they could take this franchise.
When he finally takes the leap of faith and they do the "Fly, What's Up, Danger" song as he's like falling towards it's like I get chills every time.
It's really good.
It's fantastic. But we've talked about Marvel enough. Even outside of the MCU, we've talked about it enough. How about we get to some of these new trailers that came out recently?
I like it.
Two of them we were going to talk about last week, but there was so much DC content that we couldn't.
We had to get back into the swing of things.
That too. So we're going to start with this Enola Holmes movie. What do you think about Sherlock Holmes' little sister? But no?
Hell no.
I think the trailer looks fun.
First of all,
also,
isn't it Holmes with an L?
Yeah, I realized I spelt it wrong on the
Oh, you spelt it wrong. That's not how. Okay.
No, I literally spelt it wrong. That was my bad. But it is Holmes.
It's like, hey, you know what? You know what Sherlock Holmes needs? A teenage sister to solve
I
crimes.
mean, it's just supposed to be fun. I like Millie Bobby Brown. I can't say her name. Bobby. I'm done. I
Yeah,
said it. I said I can't say her name, and then I tried it again, and all
Millie
right.
Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown. Millie
Millie
Bobby
Bobby
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah,
Uh,
look, she's okay. Like, and it's weird. It's like watching her grow up in front of us. You know what I mean? Like
it is strange.
after seeing her in Stranger Things and seeing her as like a little kid, and now she's like becoming a teenager and
Did
stuff
you
like that.
watch
It's wild.
the most recent Godzilla movie, King of
I didn't
Monsters?
see that, but
She's in that one too.
bro. So last night I was talking to my wife on the phone, had the TV on in the background, and I was watching Peter Jackson's Godzilla. I mean King Kong.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's King Kong, and it was the part where they had him chained up in the theater, and I was
Mm.
like, oh, poor King Kong. And my wife goes, oh, what are you watching? I said Love Actually. It's like,
That's so funny.
what else would
What
I
a
be watching?
what a,
Kong is King Kong. He's not. He's not. I didn't say, oh, poor
did
Bruce Willis. I
did
said,
you
oh, poor King Kong.
maybe she was like which King Kong?
No,
There's been
no,
like
come
4 of them, but
on. No, that's not. No. Anyway, so well, I forgot what we were talking about.
we were talking
Uh,
about Enola Holmes.
oh, okay. So yeah, stupid.
How do you think about? So I think it's fun, but Henry Cavill is Sherlock Holmes.
I don't mind it. I
He's
think
just huge.
he's just this giant, muscular specimen, handsome man.
Yeah.
And were we talking about this the other day? How he's just unlikable because I can't invest in him as a character.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about it in the past, not like the other day,
The only
but
movie I ever liked him in was Mission Impossible 5.
makes sense. Did you not? You didn't like him as Superman? I think he's like the perfect Superman.
He's a good Superman. I still like Superman.
Good point. No,
It's not his-
nothing can be helped there. Did
it's
you
not
ever
his
see
fault.
I've made the joke before on this podcast that I was like the only person who saw the Man from Uncle, but did you see the Man from Uncle?
I did not know.
Well, he's in that and he's really good in that movie.
Well, did you see the MI5 or whatever,
Yeah.
wherever they are now? There's
I
like a
think
lot of
it's Fallout is the one he's in.
yeah. He does the thing
I
where
think that's 6.
he cocks his forearm
Yeah.
in the fight, and dude, it was a great fight. And like, I don't know, I bought him as a real badass because he looks like he could be a badass. I don't know, and he's a Chiefs fan. I'm a Chiefs fan. I don't know. I'm not into him. And this movie,
You're literally like saying all good things about him, and you're like, yeah, we get along. We both like long walks on the beach, but he's just, he's just
not
too
for me.
clingy.
it's just not for me, man. I don't know. I can't explain it, and I just can't do it. And dude. If there's anything I'm tired of, it's Hollywood trying to young up stories, like they did with
Gotcha.
Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? Like everything's got to be. Well,
He's still, hey, I'm still, like, I know Ghostbusters is going to be Stranger Things. I know it is, but the full cast list is like from the original Ghostbusters is on there that are still around, and they're gonna be in it. So
yeah, they were in the last one too. If that helps you.
look,
so
they said they were playing their old characters, so that's all I care.
Still.
Also, I trust Paul Rudd.
He's
a good leading
no,
man.
Come on, man. If you here's the thing.
He's not a leading man, but
I've never watched a movie and said, you know what this movie needs is a pack of tweens to figure things out. You know what I mean? That's what I've never saw a movie and said that's what's missing from this movie.
You can't tell me you didn't smile in the trailer when they took the Ecto 1 out, and it's like they're driving it and they're accidentally like shooting the. You didn't smile at that? That looks fun.
Because I don't care about these dumbass kids. Because I don't, because I am being force fed this idea that everybody has to be young. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Like, you know what? If it was Paul Rudd and the old cast, and them,
right?
Because they're old. Like, they're not gonna be busting ghosts. They're fitting to be ghosts. So they're not. I get that, and that's fine. But to skip 2 generations in between and go directly to Finn Wolfhard. Give me a goddamn break.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
It's too much with the like everybody's got to fit in and everybody's got to have a role. You know what I mean? Just tell a story. Just tell a goddamn story once in a while. It could be what it be. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to fit. You don't have to check off all these boxes. Just tell your story, and let me enjoy your story.
So Nola Holmes is a no from Tech.
Oh, did you realize that Enola is alone spelled backwards? Jesus, get out of here. Yeah.
Our next trailer is Death on the Nile, which is a sequel to the Murder on the Orient Express film.
Did you see that movie?
I never got around to it. I read the books. I read the original book. I don't know if they remade the book, but I read the book. I read Murder on the Orient Express.
Murder on the Orient Express is one of the most famous old classic, cinema noirs of all time.
I didn't know the ending either when I read it. So when I was going through it and I was trying to like figure it out too, I was like, who murdered? The ending's pretty crazy. I'm not going to spoil it because I want people to actually...
I actually want to watch... I've been meaning to watch Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
And aesthetically, the way it looks in the trailers for this one, it looks really cool. And this new one looks great too.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. When the trailer came out for Murder on the Orient Express, I literally went, that looks awesome. The cinematography is great. They're using Imagine Dragons as the song in the trailer. This is going to be a freaking awesome movie. I never saw it. And then they did the same thing with Death on the Nile. Yeah. The whole trailer, I was like, this movie looks beautiful.
Mm.
And when is it Hercule? I can never say his name right. Hercule Poirot, the detective.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a very French name. When he shows up in the trailer, I was like, "Yay, it's a sequel!" I was so happy, and I still haven't.
A sequel to a movie I never saw.
Still haven't seen
it. Yeah, I got really excited when I saw Gal Gadot too.
I'm happy that they keep doing these movies and adding big stars to them. That's what I like.
Agreed. And not too much for me. I don't have a lot to say on this movie. It looks like it'll be a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like I'm not going to break my neck to go see it.
I will say it's put more interest, I think, in both of us to go see Murder on the Orient Express.
For sure. And, for me, Knives Out was the same way, honestly.
Really?
Like I wasn't like, super into going to see it or whatever.
Wow, I was sold on that first trailer.
I don't know why. It's one of those things where, a movie for me, like the movies that I can't wait to go see or whatever you want to say, however you want to put that, are always movies that are less work. You know what I mean?
So you don't have to think about it.
Right,
I've put it together. You don't have to think too hard in a Spider-Man film, but a
like
murder
Bad Boys
mystery.
Bad Boys for Life. I was there on opening day. You know what I mean? Like, but just this, like, and it's not even really necessarily murder mysteries or whatever. It's more substantial movies. So you look at a movie like Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express. You look at Knives Out. Those are dinner. You know what I mean? That's an entree. Right. Bad Boys for Life. That's candy.
It also helps that Martin Lawrence is literally repeating everything happening in the film for you.
Yeah, just an exposition machine, and I love that, and I'm all about it. So
thank you for telling me why we care about this car chase.
But like I figure out. I mean, I'm pretty good at watching a movie and knowing what's going to happen. I think that when I watch something like that, I do enjoy it. I really do, especially if they can trick me. Especially if they can the way they did with Knives Out.
Knives Out did that. They basically tell you who the killer is halfway through the movie, and then it turns out that's not the case. Like it's crazy.
And to be real, I thought Daniel Craig's character was going to be dumb. Like
I did when he started doing the accent. I was like
in the commercials, in the trailers, I thought, this guy's he's hamming it up, and I'm not into it. But when I watched the movie, I was like,
oh, he's a genius.
That guy's dope.
But he's almost like a down to earth, like he doesn't care about appearances too much. Even though his intro is him like sitting in the back with Shay flipping a coin or like playing on the piano.
And then he sounds like Foghorn Leghorn when he talks. It's amazing, dude.
I'm sick of your foghorn leghorn draw. Remember that line?
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
so
love that
I'm
movie.
in for Death on the Nile. I definitely would watch that.
Speaking of Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, we have No Time to Die. We got another trailer for the next James Bond movie and the last of Daniel Craig's James Bond. This trailer was way more action packed than what we've seen recently.
I think it's kind of we're at the point now in motion pictures where it's hey, it's time to flex because it's going to be hard to get people to go to the movies. It really is.
Right. I think they were one of the first movies to kind of say like, we're out for COVID, you know.
Yeah. And honestly, like maybe I don't know this to be a fact, but that gives them time to fine tune. Like maybe they did that.
Right. And
Like
I was thinking that might be why this trailer was way more action packed because they got to finish more special effects in time. And now, exactly what you're saying, it was essentially a flex, so you could be like in awe of the entire trailer.
right.
And then
And it wasn't just the action shots. The scene where the motorcycle jumps up on the bridge, that's amazing. But the shot
so cool.
of the guys walking down the side of the rappelling down the building with the sun in the background, I mean, that's a beautiful shot. So there's a lot going on in this movie. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. This may be controversial. I never cared about Bond before Daniel Craig.
I wouldn't say it's controversial because I did, but what I like about Bond is that it's an action movie of its time every single time.
Yeah.
So like it went from, the action movies of like the 60s.
I mean, anytime a guy fights like this, it's a bad movie. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I felt like all the other like Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce was super cheesy, and it was for the time like cheesy action films were happening. And when Daniel Craig showed up, that's when they said, "How about we do this thing called filmmaking, and we make like something really, really powerful and emotional." Like this is the first time we've ever seen like James Bond, I would say, like truly like in love with a character.
Sure.
Like,
and the parkour, you start the first one he did with the parkour, and it's like this amazing parkour scene. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, it just is like, wow, this is an action movie.
Yeah.
Like this is a balls to the wall badass action movie with really great acting and a really good story. You know what I mean? Not just here's some sex punch for you.
Right. Or slapping women.
Yeah.
That was in like every James Bond up until like the early 2000s. And I think it was the shot of Daniel Craig jumping into, I think it was like a train as like something behind him is like exploding.
And then the train falls apart.
Right. And he lands and he just fixes his jacket. And I'm like, you're what I want.
Dude, that is the best. I mean, that is the definitive James Bond scene ever.
Right.
The way he fixes man.
Daniel Craig, you know what it is? It's Henry Cavill and it's one of those like
ooh. It's a real
off.
It's a real flex moment, and
for real.
It was dope. I loved it so much. That's a good scene.
So those are our trailers. Kind of sticking to the action movie realm. I wanted to talk about it a little bit last week, and now, like, good amount of reviews are out, and Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan film, is out. I know both of us haven't gotten a chance to see it because theaters are not necessarily in like.
It's gonna be a while before I'm comfortable going into a theater.
Yeah, me too. Even if they do the whole like, we'll spray it down and you wear a mask, and also, I've done a bit of plane travel recently, and I'm fine going out and wearing a mask and like going to the store or putting it on when I'm in a drive-through just to make the drive-through people feel more comfortable. Wearing the mask the entire plane flight is fine because you have to do it, but also it's just uncomfortable. That's why that's why a lot of people don't like wearing a mask, because it's uncomfortable. And I don't want to do that when I'm watching a movie.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
If I can sit in my home and watch something, and just enjoy my space, then I'll be happy with that. And it's gonna be a while until I get back into the theaters. Though I do appreciate what theaters are doing with bringing back specific movies for people to come back. Have you seen stuff like that? Like they're
Yeah,
bringing back like Empire and Spider-Verse and stuff like that to get
it's
people
pretty
back
cool.
into the theater. I think that's great. And Nolan was so adamant about getting this movie in the theaters. Like he lost so much money.
Well, I mean, and it is a movie that you should see in a theater
I
because
completely agree.
it's so big and the scope of it's huge. And I mean, I think this is like a star-making moment for James David Washington, if that is in
Oh
fact his
my
name.
god. James or John?
I don't know.
You're like rung in my ears.
I don't know, but I believe this is.
I think
mean,
it's John David Washington.
I believe it's James.
Fact check. I'm doing it now. Keep
I
talking.
loved him in Black Klansman. I thought
So
that
good.
was so I think like that's a huge. But this like right here, I think this is it James or John?
It's John David Washington.
God damn it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am very disappointed that I'm not gonna get to see this movie in the theaters, and I'm so
Well,
intrigued about what it's gonna be.
I'm hoping because it was such a long time until it got into the theaters that they'll keep it there a little bit longer. Especially for people like us who are not necessarily comfortable getting to go into the theater anytime soon. But it's because like I want to see this movie in the theaters. If they're like, oh hey, you could watch it. I don't know if this is even possible for them right now, but oh, you could pay $30 like for Mulan and you can watch it at home digitally right now. I would not do it, not just because it's $30, but mainly because it's like I don't want to see the movie on the TV screen if it's in the theaters right now.
$30 is too much, for
Way too
sure.
much.
$20 is fine, but $30 is too much because
Especially the $20, they're like, also you get it for 2 days,
yeah.
3 days, and I'm like, that's
If I were buying the movie, then I would be like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
right.
I mean, for $20, like I did pay $20 to see King of Staten Island, but that's just because I was really excited to see it.
Makes sense.
I it sucks, man. It sucks really bad because I really want to see this movie.
Right.
And I still don't even know what the hell it's about, honestly.
It's Inception, but time travel, and that's all I need to know.
I'm in. Yeah. So
it's gonna be confusing, and I'm gonna love it. I remember when I saw. You might have seen this too. I can't remember if we talked about this when Rise of Skywalker came out, and they showed a 5 minute, 8 minute like preview clip from Tenet. Like it was part of the trailer lineup, but it was just here's 8 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Enjoy. You have no idea what's going on. And I was in. I was annoyed because I was like, I would have just preferred a trailer and you start the movie, but okay. But it was good.
Here's the thing, like it's it's like it's this whole thing has been so disappointing. You know what I mean? Like we've missed so much, and obviously like there's a lot more tragedy in the world associated with this than we've missed some movies. So I'm definitely not. It's one of those things where like this movie, the beautiful cinematography deserves and is owed that big screen experience.
100%.
You know what I mean? And like, you're not gonna be moved the same way, I don't think. And the way Christopher Nolan does sound too is another thing. Like the sound is like such a subtle part of what he does with it, and you're gonna miss out on all of that. Like, even if you have the most advanced sound system at home in the world,
it's not the same.
You're not gonna get the same effect, and
that's also why I feel like theaters aren't gonna go away. They might diminish in size because that's what people keep saying, especially after what we've been through. People are saying, oh well, if they were making the same amount of money doing the whole $20 offer to watch it digitally and early, like what are theaters gonna do? And that was a real scare for a lot of people. But I consider it almost like VR and video games. It's a cool experience, but nothing beats the feeling of just like sitting down on the couch and having a controller. Nothing beats the feeling of sitting in a movie theater and
You got
watching
your
this giant
popcorn. Yeah.
screen, popcorn. Do
Hmm.
you Here's a weird question. If it's a very important movie to you, like Avengers Endgame was to me, do you get food?
Every time.
That's so
Not
interesting.
food, just popcorn. I don't get food
Well,
unless
even
I haven't
popcorn.
eaten. I
Even
don't.
even popcorn I don't do. I'll get a drink.
Why?
I
Just
I
because it's
think
distracting?
I think it's distracting to
That's
myself,
weird.
like when I'm
That's
chewing.
weird.
I know it's weird, but it's like I want to be in the
I
movie.
can't. I can't do a movie at the movies without popcorn.
That's so interesting. Well, I
I just can't do
okay,
it.
no, I can't say yours is more interesting because yours sounds like the average American experience. I'm
Mm,
the guy saying I can't eat and watch films.
It's like Sunray in town.
Yeah.
It's the
Hmm.
smaller indie movie
Love
theater.
love Sunray.
Their popcorn is delicious, and they
So
have a
good.
bar where they have all these different ingredients that you can put on your popcorn. I always do
That's right.
black pepper and Parmesan cheese on my
Mm.
popcorn, and it is phenomenal. And I tell you what, like I dream of that shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm like I dream about that popcorn.
My favorite experience at some Sunray was with my brother, and the ladies wanted to go see the new How to Train Your Dragon movie, the last one,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're like, sure. Like I enjoyed them. I really liked those movies. So they put us in the smaller theater because Sunray's got the really really big one and then the small one,
Yeah.
because
That,
that's where
that
all
literally is like somebody's house, home
yeah,
theater. Yeah.
literally, and it's like that's where all the kids' movies are played. That's
Yeah.
also where we saw like the Pikachu movie, Detective Pikachu. So we get in there, and my brother, he's a real like beer drinker. He just likes drinking beer. So he was like, let's get one of those buckets. So we had a bucket of beer in the kids theater
Yeah.
watching How to Train Your Dragon 3, and I was like, I don't think you can do this anywhere else. Sunrise
I no,
awesome.
no, I love that theater, dude.
It's so good.
They do cool stuff. They've been doing a lot of
Drive-in stuff, right?
drive-in stuff. Yeah. I wonder, dude, have you been checking any box office returns or anything?
Mm-mm.
Like, I wonder how Bill and Ted did last weekend opening up, and then because
I,
it's also digital. It's also on
yeah,
digital.
that's what I'm seeing on like the Xbox store is like, oh, watch Bill and Ted 3 now.
Not, and I'm like, nah,
Nah,
I'm good.
Um, man, Sunray's so cool. That's where I saw Endgame.
I think I saw Endgame the first time there. See, but this is like another thing. Not to get back into the Tenet thing with watching movies at the movie theater. What I've been watching on YouTube this week a lot is people reacting to the things that happen in movies.
So great.
And that's like I remember when because I saw Endgame. I saw Endgame at Sunray, and
Same.
then I saw Endgame at the movie theater in LA that has the big
Oh,
dome.
oh, yeah.
Um, so I remember watching that movie with people, and everybody else's reactions make it. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
real. Which do you remember what night you went on to see Endgame? Was it the opening weekend?
I feel like it definitely was
I
because it was
saw it on
pretty early.
Saturday night.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a chance you and me were like in the same theater.
we might have been.
We honestly could have.
Because there was a lot of people there, and it's most of the last 4 or 5 Marvel movies I've seen there. I saw um, Captain Marvel there. I
I
saw
saw Captain Marvel there as well.
I believe I saw Black Panther there.
I think I saw Black Panther back home in Orlando
Okay,
with
but like
my buddy.
and the thing is like that's not the most technologically advanced theater.
No,
Like, you know,
by no means.
you go to there's a theater in Kansas City when I go home.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Cinetopia,
Ooh,
and I'm talking this place is ridiculous. It's like the future. The walls are made up of TV screens in the hallways and stuff like that.
that's
So
awesome.
they're showing trailers as you're walking down the hall, kind of deal. There's 3 different types of theaters. There's a regular one. There's one with couches and beds,
Mm.
and then there's another one that's like a little bit smaller, but it's also more cozy. You get food. The sound system's top notch. The lights kind of shadow the ambiance of what's happening in the movie, so it kind of keeps you in it. And we saw. I want to say the last two Star Wars movies at that movie
Was at
theater.
that theater. I
Um,
remember
and that's a
seeing.
different vibe because the
Yeah,
sound, everything is a lot more immersive. But I'm way more into the Sunray experience.
I think just having a crowd makes a movie so much better, depending on the movie. But I mean,
Yeah.
I remember seeing Force Awakens at the Point Orlando Theater, which I don't think that exists anymore because
Hmm.
that whole like shopping center was closed down. But it's an AMC theater that had a 4-story screen.
Oh wow.
It was awesome. And I saw Star Wars there, and I remember when like the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and the Star Wars title came up. I mean, cheers
Yeah.
throughout the entire thing, and the movie had been out a week by then, and it's still like it was like opening night for these people, and it was just
It's
such
chills,
an
right? It
amazing.
gives you
Yeah,
chills because you
it's
like
crazy.
you're in a room with people who are as excited as you are
Yeah.
to be enjoying something, and that's great. And you can't replace that feeling, man.
And I think my best movie theater experience had to have been Endgame, either when it was on your left and everybody showing up, or it was Cap catching the hammer. Because I'll tell you when Cap caught that hammer, I mean, I looked around and people were like freaking out. Like I said, we could have been in the same theater, and suddenly I was like, "Oh my god, I'm crying!"
Yeah,
Like this
I
is beautiful.
I tell you what, dude, I was a mess at the end
Right?
of that movie. I was to this day. I watched a deleted scene from the movie
Right.
where we could spoil at this point, right? It's been years and everybody in the world saw it.
Yeah, we'll
After
talk about
Tony Stark dies,
it. Right.
first of all, I lose it. I really, really lose it when Spider-Man comes up to him. When Peter
Yeah.
Parker comes up to Tony Stark
We won.
and he's like, Mr. Stewart, we won. Mr. Stark, we won. Oh, dude, I lose it. I start bawling like a baby. But in this scene, in this deleted scene, it starts with Clint, Hawkeye, dropping to a knee, like kneeling to a king. And then it slowly pans around to everybody doing it. So you've got
Mhm.
T'Challa, a king. You've got Thor, a god. You've
Yeah.
got a soldier. You've got all these different people kneeling to a mortal. And dude, I'll tell you what, I don't know why they took that out of the movie. I could definitely tell you there were other scenes that they could have taken out and left that in because that was so powerful.
I completely agree that that scene was incredible. I remember seeing the same deleted scene.
Mm.
I remember seeing an outrage on Twitter when that deleted scene was discovered, and people like really like shitting on the Russo brothers for taking it out. And I agree with you that some scenes could have been taken out and that for replacement of that scene. But also, I'm just sitting there like, guys, it's a 3-hour film. It's okay.
See, but at that point though, like what's another minute and a half? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
people
Like
are still gonna sit there. It's not when Hawkeye takes a knee. Everybody's not gonna go. Oh, well, I guess
like
we're doing this now.
time to go. I mean that was like watching Cap, who had been just completely exhausted and had his ass
Oh
beat.
my
And
god,
then
yeah.
like you're rushed with all these thoughts of him saying, you're not the guy to lay on a wire. You're not the guy that's going to make the sacrifice play.
Right.
And all this stuff goes through your head. And dude, at that moment, and like, dude, you realize the way that sports are so important to who we are as people, how important these movies, the MCU, have been to us as a culture for the
Yeah.
last 10 years.
It's
You know
crazy.
what I mean? It's defined an entire generation of movie making and people. There's going to be people that grew up that never lived in a world without the MCU, and they're never going to know how much this meant to people.
Yeah.
I can't stress it enough, man.
I I still remember the excitement I got in the theater watching Iron Man 2,
Hmm.
and when the after credits showed Thor's hammer in the middle of a field, and I went, "They're doing Thor!" I
Right.
freaked out.
Yeah.
And boy, look at how far we've come.
We've come so far, man.
It's
And
insanity.
everybody, it's like everybody's tried to create their own universe. Universal tried to do the Dark
I
Universe.
was gonna say the Dark Universe. That
That
was the
didn't work
first thing I
out.
thought of.
The Monster Universe they're still
Still
working on.
trying.
DC Universe, we saw how that ended up.
It's essentially DC universes now.
Which
Like
it should be.
yeah, I completely agree because their comics are the masters of the multiverse. Why shouldn't the movies be?
I think they found out. I think they found the new formula, and hopefully they
Right.
stick to it.
Did
Um,
you hear about this Batman stuff?
I saw the note you sent, and that's a damn shame, man.
I like I don't know. I saw somebody on Twitter said something like all right, everybody, let's really pull our resources together for Batman and solve this COVID shit. So what we're saying is Robert Pattinson has been tested positive with COVID, which is crazy because apparently the studio put out that some crew member on the staff had COVID, but they didn't say who. But it was Vanity Fair, who like their sources from inside the movie were like, it's Robert Pattinson, and they reported on it, and then the studio was like, yeah, it's Robert Pattinson. Yeah,
Like, so much for medical, privacy, whatever.
well, yeah. At that point, it was like, well, I guess we gotta say it. Uh, and yeah, it's shitty. I knew we weren't gonna see this movie for a while, but just knowing that it's probably gonna be a little bit longer is a little upsetting. That
Yeah.
question mark 0 ? 1 is really.
They knew what they were doing when they put the question marks in. They really did.
The movie's actually coming out 2031.
Right, yeah. Robert Pattinson's gonna be a grandfather by the time the movie makes it out.
We gotta get out of here, so I'm just gonna quickly bring up this real quick. I want to get your opinions on it. Mandalorian season 2 is coming October 30th. Are you excited?
Totally excited, yeah.
The picture they showed is the same logo from the first season, except now it's like blue. But also, he's walking in the middle, just like how he is in the first logo, except he's got Baby Yoda next
Baby
to him.
Yoda.
And I'm like, here we go.
I was so pleasantly surprised by that series. I was really
I was pleasantly
blown away.
surprised by this announcement. I mean, I guess it makes sense that they can film it a little bit safer because they're doing it all from inside like a room. But it's exciting that we're gonna get it to actually see it in 2 months essentially. That's crazy. We get Mandalorian season 2 in 2 months.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be you're probably too young to remember this, but when the writer strike happened,
Right? I know all about the writer's strike.
We were inundated with a lot of reality TV shows, a lot of reruns and things like that. But when things came back, they were good. Things were good because writers were working on stuff and they had breaks, and that's I think that's going to happen here. And
with the return from COVID.
The Mandalorian was I'm going to go on a limb and say that may be my favorite Star Wars property.
That's a bold statement.
Statement.
But the thing is, I can't fault you. Yeah. I can't say you could be wrong because it's good. It's fantastic. And before we go, we did want to end the podcast on probably the biggest news of this past week. Chadwick Boseman, unfortunately, we lost him a couple days ago. He apparently had been suffering from cancer since 2016, which that is still something I can't fully wrap my head around, is that he was playing a superhero and nobody could tell that he was suffering. And he put out 5, 6 movies during that time.
At least. I mean, there was a movie for my recommendation today. 21 Bridges came out during that time. There was The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
The Marvel movies. Dude, I was this. Not a lot of celebrity deaths get me shook. You know, because you're not connected to them. You don't know them. Even something like a Prince, like, Prince is an amazing artist and had an effect on your life in a really substantial way. I don't know, man. Just something about this. I just feel like we lost as fandom, as I don't know, like as a group of humanity.
Yeah.
Like this was a good man, you know what I mean? And like to think that this is the same guy that played Black Panther, who brought that cultural phenomenon that
Yeah.
changed so much, that gave African American kids finally a hero that they could look up to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he also played Jackie Robinson and Thurgood Marshall. I
Right.
mean, like, I watched his speech that he gave at Howard as he was to graduation day,
His
and
commencement.
his commencement to the graduating class at Howard. And just, dude, I mean, just such a loss to lose somebody like that. And the fact that we never knew he was sick, I mean, it comes as such a shock. And it also speaks volumes about his character
Hmm.
and about how he chose to fight this fight with him and his family instead of making it something that he used to get sympathy or, you know, I honestly, dude, just like it's been a real bummer.
Yeah.
Like I've been bummed
Yeah.
out for a few days about it.
Yeah.
So
Somebody on Twitter pointed out something about like how strong, like this is a superstar.
yeah,
He became like the face of a generation essentially just from one movie.
hmm
And somebody on Twitter pointed out that like think of how close knit his friends and family's group must be that they kept this such a secret. And that's just trust and love
yeah,
that kept that all together. And you know, losing him was very hard. And you know, your recommendation is 21 Bridges. Mine is Black Panther. I watched it a couple days ago. I've been on a Marvel kick to prepare for the video game, and I was gonna skip Black Panther because I was just watching Avengers films. But um, after what happened, I was like, I should watch it. And it was hard. And I'm not gonna lie, when the credits start rolling, and they just kind of stylized show the names of the actors who portrayed every character. When it starts with Chadwick Boseman right at the beginning of the credits, I lost it
it's
because
weird, man. It's weird that it has such an effect on us. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean, it is and it isn't. I guess. I mean, when you hold something that close to you, and I feel like we all feel like we own a little piece of that, and the great thing about these movies, particularly superhero movies, is they're built to be where you relate to something in the character, and I don't know, man, just the idea that I'm gonna cry. He's dying of cancer and he knows it,
yeah,
and he's still going to see kids, and he's still, you know, doing everything he can to bring happiness to people's lives, and he's not feeling sorry for himself, and he's not uh in seclusion just being angry. He's out there and he's still trying to do what he was put on this earth to do. I just man.
and back to what you were saying about the Avengers movies and Marvel as a whole the past 10 years, that's something that we got to live through
Yep.
and own. And Endgame was such a big moment in our history. And God, just think about it. Endgame was such a big part of everything, but just 2 years before, it was Black Panther.
Yeah.
And it was like the biggest movie in the world. They kept it
Yep.
in theaters all the way up until, and I think we're playing past, or at least into the run for Avengers Infinity War because of how big a movie that was and how many people went to see it. And so many people looked up to him and saw a superhero that they could relate to on screen.
Mhm.
People who don't get to see a lot of that as
that never
representation.
that never got to before
Yeah.
in their whole life, never. And to see, like, not just, and the thing is, it's not just him that's the superhero on the screen, but also the entire cast being
Yeah.
African American, giving all of those kids who maybe little girls who love science looking up to Shuri, and
Hey, the
it's
King's
just
Guards in that movie are all strong, powerful
strong,
women.
powerful women. Yes, dude, and like just that movie's so important, and this guy was in important movie after important movie, um, and like I said, just humble and just
Yeah.
amazing.
Gone way too soon.
Way too soon. What do you think? How do you think they do this? How do you think they handle this in the MCU? Well, or I guess a better question is, what would you like to see them do?
What I would like to see, because I saw a couple people throwing around the idea of recasting, and I think that's a horrible idea. I
Can't
mean,
do.
Disney and Marvel both put out wonderful tributes to him with the caption, "You will always be our king." So I don't think recasting is going to happen, and I wouldn't want to see it anyways.
Mm,
My hope is that somehow, and I don't know how they could write it in, because in the film's lore, that heart-shaped herb that makes you the Black Panther is not around anymore. So I don't know how they would do it. But my hope is that they would pass off the role to Shuri at that point, and then
mm,
she would become the next Black Panther in honor of her brother. And of course, I think that's the only way you can do it at that point.
uh,
Yeah.
Agreed. I saw some pretty interesting ideas of bringing back Killmonger,
Oh, like he didn't
and
die.
well, no, he did die, but like I don't know, like I don't know, again, like I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
But like making him the good, just I don't know. I think you're right though. I think the only fitting way to do it
Is
is
to
have
pass it on.
the way it should be, the way it
Right.
would be in real life,
Yeah.
if that were real life. So
I
I
mean,
agree.
think about it. It's the king of Wakanda is
Hmm.
whoever is the Black Panther, and now we
Right.
have the next in line, the bloodline. It would be the Queen.
You're
It'd
right.
be Shuri. And
Right.
but yeah, no recasting. Chadwick Boseman was a once like one in a million, 1 in a billion person, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard without him. But I'm
Yeah.
happy that we got to see him really show him stuff and be so revolutionary in not just Marvel but the film industry.
Yep.
And just like Disney and Marvel said, he'll always be my king.
Yep.
But all right, well that's gonna do it for this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Give 21 Bridges give a rewatch if you haven't already watched it. Give it a watch for the first time. It's a fantastic film. Chadwick really, like, that's him a superhero, but not a superhero. And then give Black Panther a watch because I don't know. Just watch it again for the 15th, 30th time. It's a good
No
movie.
doubt.
All right. Well, thank you again for watching. Thank you for listening. Check us out on Instagram, No Talking During the Movies. Check us out on YouTube, No Talking During the Movies. You can actually watch our faces and watch Tank cry.
Shut up.
I'm sorry. I was getting teary too, but you're the one who called it out. All right. Well, I am your host, Stephen Austin.
I am your co-host, Crybaby Baggins.
And we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Good stuff, man.